on that Pear Deck screen, please. And I'll be screen sharing it from here as well too. But it's important that you are on the Pear Deck because that's how you'll be able to interact with the information. So you'll see it up here on my screen if you need to, but if you're on the Pear Deck, then you'll be able to interact with it. I am going to put the link for the short in just a second. The short that you guys are going to be watching is right here. You should actually be able to click on it actually in the Pear Deck. If you're in the Pear Deck, if you click on this, it should take you to YouTube to watch it. But just in case, if it doesn't take you to watch it like it's supposed to, like mine is right here, it should allow you to just watch it. I will put the link in the chat as well, just in case. But go ahead, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to watch that Pixar short. So go ahead and click on that link, and it should take you to YouTube to watch it. If not, I will put the link in the chat for you in just a second. You should be able to click on it right there. And open it in YouTube and watch it in YouTube. But I'm going to put it in the chat just in case. So there's the YouTube link in the chat just in case you're having issues accessing it. And then when you're done watching it, just come back to the chat and hit done, and type in done, I mean. If you're having trouble accessing it from the Pear Deck, click on the link in the chat. Looks like most of you are there. I see a couple of you who are not, so click on that link in the chat so you can watch it. Thank you. Yeah, guys, don't forget to let me know that you're done in the chat when you finish watching, because that will help me know when it's ready to move on. Cool, thank you. I see we got about 5 of you done, 6. True, very true. Looks like almost everybody's done. Just a couple more people who are wrapping up here. And again, as you finish, don't forget to mark done in the chat. I see that I've got about 10 of you who have done that already. So we're just waiting on a couple more people here. It looks like everybody but a couple people are done. So in just a second, we will move on. So again, make sure you are back on the Pear Deck screen because you're going to need to be on that screen to interact with the presentation as we go through and review some of the parts of plot in relation to the short that you just watched, which is called Lifted. All right, so it looks like most of us are ready. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one. So this is an interactive slide on the Pear Deck for you. You are going to draw lines here. There's actually a line tool that you can use in order to do this. And you are going to connect the pieces. So whatever you think is the conflict, you'll draw a line to the one you think is the conflict or the problem. Whoever or whatever you think was the antagonist, the meaning the one that caused the problem, you'll draw a line to that. The setting, the when and where that it takes place, and then the protagonist would be the main character. So that's what you are going to do. You are going to draw lines there. I am going to be watching as you do that, as you make those connections, and checking your answers. And then we'll share what the correct answers are once everybody's had a chance to respond. So drawing the lines to what you think are the correct answers here. And let's see, I'm looking to see the first one I see with all the correct answers here. Ooh, I think it looks like Maya might have all the correct answers. Let's see. And it looks like Amy might have all the correct answers. It looks like Miley might have all the correct answers. Some of you are still putting your answers down, so I'm not checking them yet. Just checking the ones that look like they're totally done so far. Give you another minute to get those answers plugged in there. And then we'll reveal what the correct answers were. All right. Take about 30 more seconds to lock in your answers there. And then I'm going to lock the screens and show what the correct answers are. Guys, make sure we're using chat appropriately or I'll just turn the chat off. I can turn it off so I'm the only one who can use it if necessary. All right. So 10 more seconds to lock in your answers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'm going to lock your screens for now. And I am going to pop up on the screen. This just happens to be Elena's that you're going to see because hers is one of the ones that has correct answers. And you can see whether your answers did in fact match hers. So I know several of you had the correct answers here. So our protagonist, our main character in the story, is a little alien or skinny alien or however you would describe him. And then his antagonist in this case was actually the keyboard because he can't get it to work properly, right? He's also battling technology in a sense, just kind of like what we talked about, because he cannot fly that spaceship to save his life. So that's his conflict that he's dealing with. He's trying to get that man into the ship so that he can fly away with him. They're trying to, basically, it's like he's taking his alien abduction test, if you think about it. So instead of a driver's test, he's taking an alien abduction test, and he is failing it miserably because he cannot figure out how to get that man into the ship no matter how hard he tries. And then the setting where the story takes place is like at a farmhouse and in the spaceship, and it looks like it's probably like present day. So in other words, it doesn't look like it's a historical story necessarily, or it doesn't look like it's something that in the future. It looks like it's something that could be taking place in the here and now. So if your answers match these, then you were on the right track in terms of matching up the things for the exposition. So this is all part of the exposition, remembering that that's like kind of the introduction of our story. And from here, we're going to go into talking about the rising action. I'm going to go ahead and unlock your screens as we move on to the next one. So remember, again, the 4 types of conflict, just a quick review. Remember, there's character versus character. So remember, that's when you have 2 characters going up against each other. There's character versus society. That's when you have a character who's battling something going on in the world around them, like racism, discrimination, something along those lines. Character versus nature. So like some sort of natural event, such as like a hurricane or earthquake or something along those lines. And then character versus self is when the character is dealing with some internal problem, meaning like they are their own antagonist in a sense, because they are creating the problem for themselves. And so in this case, out of the options that show up for you, you're going to choose which one you think, what type of conflict you think was going on based on the options that they have available there. Now, another option obviously would be character versus technology, but that's not one of the options that you're given. So out of the options there, character versus character, character versus society, character versus nature, character versus self, you are going to lock in what you think was going on here. What type of conflict do you think was going on in this particular Pixar animated short? And I see 2 people have locked in answers so far, 3 people. So think about the problem that that little alien was dealing with and what kind of problem was it? Got 5 people who have answers in. 6. There are 12 people total, so I'm looking for all 12 to have answers locked in. We're at 8. I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to lock in an answer. Looks like we're kind of split on this. The majority of the people right now have the correct answer. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds to lock in an answer. I'm still waiting for like 3 of you to answer. 2 of you to answer. Locking screens in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and locking screens. All right, so it looks like most of us picked the correct answer on this one. The correct answer for this one is character versus self out of the options that you have there, because the little alien's problem, remember, is he can't abduct this guy successfully. He cannot get that guy into the ship. He doesn't know how to fly it properly. And that's all his fault. It's very clear that he did not come prepared for this test. He didn't study, he wasn't ready. And so because of that, the battle that's going on is a battle that he created for himself. So even though it is, in a sense, kind of a character versus technology issue as well, because he's battling against the technology, he wouldn't be fighting the technology if he had been prepared. So because he put himself in that situation, that's why this would be an example of character versus self would be the best possible answer for this one, because he is dealing with a problem that he created himself. Had he studied and prepared, then he should have been able to pass his test. So that's the kind of conflict we have going on here. All right, gonna unlock those screens. All right, from here, we're gonna go into the rising action. So on this one, when you type in your answers, this is what I want you to think about, because you're gonna actually type in answers. And you are going to answer the question, if the problem was that he's trying to get that guy in the ship, what were some of the things that we saw that went on in the story while he was trying to get the guy into the ship? What kind of things did he do? What kind of things did we see take place? Because any of those would be examples of rising action. So as you type in your answers here, that's what you want to think about. So he's trying to get the guy into the ship. What did we see happen? You know, what happened to the guy? What did the little alien do to try and get him into the ship? What did he do when he couldn't get him into the ship? What kind of things? Basically, if you were to describe to me what you saw take place, what did you see take place in his attempts to get that guy out? So that's what you're going to describe here. And I'll give you a minute to do that, and I'll read your answers as you're doing that. So try and come up with at least 2 things that you can list that you saw happen in the storyline as he was trying to get that guy out of the house. And when I see some good ones, I'll read them to you. Good. I see a lot of you are commenting about how he kept getting mad and frustrated. I think that's a good one. We definitely saw that anger and frustration coming from him. And I like Mark mentioned that, you know, part of how we saw that anger and frustration is when he started just randomly flipping those switches, right? Mark mentioned that one. Just trying to see, if I flip this switch, what will happen? Will this one work? So obviously he wasn't prepared. Yes, and I see several people mentioning how he was trying to get him out of there. He kept bumping him into things, knocking him into the windows, knocking him into the walls, knocking things over. hitting the man's body on everything. Good. Yeah, I see more people mentioning how he was getting angry. Yes, throwing a tantrum. That's a good one too. I think it was Zeke that mentioned, sorry, that's my bad. Zeke was the one who mentioned him flipping the random switches. Mark mentioned the tantrum. Messing up the human's house. Yep, that's a good one too. Elena. Yeah, he gets mad. Good. So I see lots of good ideas that you guys are writing down there. So yeah, so basically what we saw happening in that section is, you know, he's trying to get him out of the house. He keeps bumping him into all kinds of things. You know, the more he tries, he almost gets him out the window, and then he has him, and then he doesn't have him. He gets him stuck in a tree. You know, he gets frustrated, pressing all the buttons. Those are all great examples of stuff that was happening during the rising action of this story. So all of that build up as he keeps trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing, that's all part of the rising action of our story that builds up to the climax, which is the turning point in our story. Before we get to that, there's one more question on rising action that you guys are going to do. So I'm going to go on to that question next. And this one's going to be a matching one, kind of in a sense. So you're going to be doing some dragging of stuff on the slides. So on this slide, there are 4 things on here that are part of the rising action. So think about some of the things that we just shared and talked about, and see if you can identify which 4 they are. So you'll just drag the little flags next to the 4 things that you think were part of the rising action. So basically the 4 things, some of the things that we just talked about. We didn't talk about one of them though, I think. We talked about most of them. Probably, that's very true, Jesse. Yeah, or Donald, I should say. Yeah, that's he probably got very discouraged. Very true. We saw that too, right? We saw at the end, we saw that discouragement in him. He got kind of sad. So you're going to drag the flags next to the 4 that you think were part of the rising action. So meaning they were part of the whole process where he's trying to get them, the guy out of the house. So be careful to make sure that you are only marking the ones that were part of that portion, because the rising action was all his attempts to get the guy out of the house. And there are 4 of them that fit into that category. I'll give you a moment to drop and drag those on there. All right, 30 more seconds to drop and drag wherever you think those go. We're picking the 4 items we think are part of the rising actions of the story. Remember, the rising action in this story is the part we said where he's trying to get the guy out of the house. Which of those things happened during that time? 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll lock the screens. Okay, so look at where you put your 4. Okay, make sure you know where they are, because the next screen I'm going to put up is going to show the answers, and you're going to have to compare where you dragged yours to what the correct answers are. So here we go. All right, so these were the correct answers. So he tries to move the man, but keeps slamming him into the walls. That was one that you guys had mentioned when you guys were writing your comments. He gets frustrated with all the buttons and pushes them all at once. That was another one. I think that was the one that Zeke had mentioned, where he got all angry and was just randomly pressing the buttons. These are the 2 that I don't think we had discussed yet. I don't know if anybody caught this, but he does actually, at one point, he finds like a manual and he starts flipping through it, an instruction book, to try and find the right answer. And that's when he finally almost is successful, because he finds the information, he finds the right button, and then that's when we see the guy starting to finally almost make it into the spaceship. And that's what the last point of the rising action is he has that guy and he's going up into the beam, and he actually has him. He has him up into the spaceship, but then he makes a mistake, right? He makes a mistake. And that's where, and he gets a little too self-assured, gets a little too cocky, and because of it, he makes a mistake, and then that's when our story starts to shift. So I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about what the climax is, the turning point in our story, because that's where it takes place. So building up until the point where he almost has that guy, he finally almost has him, that's still part of our rising action. That part where he makes a mistake and what happens there, that is going to be the turning point. That's going to be the climax of our story. So as we go on to the next question, and you answer this one, what is the climax of Lifted? You are going to look at the options you have there and see which one you think matches with that scene. So remember, the last point of our rising action is he has him, he's in the ship, and then think about what happens next, because that is the climax. So right after he has him in the ship, what was the very next thing that happened? Because that is the climax of the story. So what was the mistake that he made? Because the mistake highlights the climax, the turning point in the story. Because it builds up, we're like, oh my gosh, he almost has him, he has him, he finally got him. Oh, and he makes a mistake. So make sure you click the one you think is that climax, the one that best represents that mistake that he made. And I've got about half of you who have put in your answers. It shouldn't take you very long to plug in an answer on this one, so I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. $15 more seconds to plug in an answer, guys. This one shouldn't be that difficult. Just think about what was the very next thing that happened. So he almost had the guy. He had him in the ship. Then what did he do? The very next thing. So waiting on 4 of you to answer.
He crashed the ship.
Almost. You're close. You're close. Did you put in your answer on the Pear Deck, Kevin?
No.
No? All right, I'm locking in answers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and locking them. All right, the majority of you have this one correct on here. The correct answer was B. The little alien lets go of the button too soon and drops the man. So he gets too, like I said, he gets too cocky. He's like, yeah, I got it. And then he lets go of that button with flourish. And as he does, the man drops. And that is the climax. That is the turning point of our story. Because then we have literal falling action that starts to happen, right? Because the man starts to fall. That's part of our falling action, is the actual falling of the man. And then what happens from there is the other part of our falling action. So if we go into the next question from here, and if for some reason, guys, you were not able to get into the Pear Deck, you can also type your answers into the chat as well. If for some reason you couldn't get into the Pear Deck. But this time we want to pick the other part of the falling action. So the first part of the falling action is the man actually falling, and then what happened next, because that's the other part of the falling action. So you're going to choose your correct answer on this one. So look at your options, A, B, C, and D. And then what happened next after the man started to fall? We know he didn't hit the ground. So what prevented him from hitting the ground? Because that would be your next part of your falling action. I've got 6 people with answers locked in on this one. So far, everybody has the correct answer. 30 more seconds to lock them in. 7 people. 8 people. Just missing 4 of you. Okay, lock them in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and locking screens. Okay, so most of us got this one. So the very next thing that happens after that man starts to fall is that big alien has to step in and prevent him from dying. So he stops him from hitting the ground, and then he puts him back in his house and puts everything back the way it was. you know, exactly, so none of it is disturbed anymore. So that was the other part of our falling action. So the first part of it was the actual man falling. The second part was the big alien stepping in to make sure that the man, you know, didn't fall to his death. And so that is the other part of our falling action. And then he puts everything all back to normal. And then that kind of brings us to the conclusion, the ending of the story. So this one should be an easy one. On this one, you want to look at how did the story end? What was the very last thing that happened? How did the story come to an end? The very last thing that we saw happen. And this comes back to what Kevin mentioned earlier. So we'll see who was listening, because Kevin gave you guys the answer. So the very last thing that happens, that we see happen, that would be our resolution and conclusion. Got 10 of you with answers in. I'll give you 10 more seconds, because this one should be easy.
Yeah, I already got my answer.
Gotcha. Cool. I know you know this one.
Especially.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, lock in those screens. All right, so as Kevin told us before, this is where we see the little alien crash the ship onto the house. And the reason that happened was because, remember, and this comes back to kind of that point that Donald made, which was the alien gets sad, right? He kind of loses his self-esteem a little bit, and he gets sad, and he's over there like crying. And the big alien feels bad for him, and he's like, oh, okay, and he lets him drive, which obviously was a mistake, because then when he lets him drive, he crashes the ship. And then the big alien has to take over again, and then they fly away. And that's the ending of our story, is the crashing of the ship and then the flying away. And I don't know if any of you listened at all, like watched all the way through the credits and listened at the end. But there was one more thing that happened at the very end there. And that is that you hear the guy like wake up, the alarm clock goes off, and the guy wakes up. And at the end, did anybody happen to hear that? If you didn't, to say you did, okay. If you didn't, go back sometime and watch it later and listen to it and see if you can take a guess as to what happened. If you did, then you already probably could guess. But I don't want to give it away in case people haven't had a chance to watch it. But at some point later, go back and watch it again and see if you can listen all the way at the end. Because there's another scene that takes place that we don't see, we only hear. And it kind of changes the whole ending a little bit. But that being said, our actual ending that we see is the crashing of the ship and then the flying away. So it looks like most of you got that one correct. And that's it. Those are all the different parts of plots for this particular Pixar short. So anything like that we watch that has a story, so whether it's a Pixar short, a TV show, a movie, same thing with things that we read that are stories, they all have these different parts of plot in them. So we are just getting to the point where we're starting to practice identifying those things and noticing those things as we're watching them. So this is a chance for us to kind of do that together. And then for homework, when you read your story, these are things that I want you to keep in mind as well, because they're pieces that we're going to look at in regards to the story that you're going to read as well as the parts of plot for the story. So this is looking at it visually, and we're going to talk about how do we identify plot within a story. That'll be our next step from there. But that being said, we are going to move on from the Pear Deck for now. So I am going to go back to the screen for the time being. So you can go ahead and close out that Pear Deck for now. I'm going to go ahead and close out mine. You can close that tab. And then I think I want to switch a little bit. I want to talk to you guys about your homework first. And then if we have time, we'll start doing some of those ambition presentations. We're going to kind of do them little by little as we go each week until we finished all of them. But one thing I do want to say about when we start doing the ambition presentations is that one of your opportunities to get some extra credit too on your grade for the ambition presentation, so that's a project grade, so something that can really help your grade, boost your grade, is to volunteer. So when we get to the time where we start doing those, if you volunteer instead of me having to call you to participate, because if there's no volunteers, I'll just call on people. But if you volunteer, that's automatic extra credit just by volunteering. And that's all you have to do is be like, I'll go. And then you automatically get extra credit. Otherwise, if we don't have volunteers, then the extra credit is no longer on the table. And then I just start calling on people and they start presenting. But that being said, we will come to that after. I want to go over the homework with you first to make sure we have time to do that, because then we can finish off with doing some presentations. So as far as the homework, so I just want to remind you guys, we talked about this. You have two things. One is iReady, which you've already addressed. Remember, I talked to you guys about your iReady from last week. It's the same thing this week. So every week, your assignment for iReady will stay the same. It is that you need to do at least 45 minutes of on-task time, and you need to pass at least 1 to 2 lessons minimum. So this week, you have that same thing that you need to do. If you need to get caught up because you didn't do it last week, then you need to double that. Meaning that means instead of 45 minutes, okay, you need to do 45 minutes times 2, okay? So you need to make sure you do 90 minutes of iReady. And then instead of passing 1 or 2 lessons, you need to pass 2 to 4 lessons if you're playing catch up, because you can do extra in order to get extra credit, and you can do extra if you need to make up for lessons that you didn't do. Or time that you didn't do previously. If you did what you were supposed to last week, then you only have to do the minimum, which is 45 minutes and 1 to 2 lessons. Okay, so that will be every single week. Okay, the iReady does not change. The thing that's new this week is Actively Learn. And that is something that's posted on Google Classroom. So in fact, I'm going to go student view so you can see student view here. So if you go to Google Classroom, you'll see there's only 2 things listed for your homework this week. You have iReady, and then you have Actively Learn. The name of the story that you're going to be reading is called The Veldt. And FYI, guys, these pictures are now, I started putting those there to kind of help you differentiate quickly between classwork and homework. Because if it has like the little teacher next to it, like these ones did, those are things that we did in class. If it has a computer next to it, little laptop next to it, those are things that are for homework. So that's how you can quickly differentiate. Like here I can see, oh, these were classwork. Oh, these were homework. These are asynchronous time. And then the other images are like, I start picking images to go with particular assignments. So all iReady assignments will have this book. All Actively Learn assignments now will have this red A. You know, anything that you're doing on Edpuzzle is going to have like a puzzle piece. Discussion questions will have the little discussion box. So that's just for those of you who maybe who are more visual, seeing those pictures might help you to recognize the assignments more quickly. But that being said, for Actively Learn, if you click on Actively Learn and you go to View Assignment, it'll tell you that you are going to click on this link to sign up for Actively Learn. So you sign up for Actively Learn with your school Google account. And then it will automatically log you in and take you to where your assignments are. And then you're going to be reading the story and answering the questions that are there. Most of them are multiple choice. The last question, though, is always a written response question. So that's what I want to show you guys. So looking at this from a student perspective, I'm probably going to have to log back in because it will time out after a while. So when you log in, this is what it will look like. And it'll show you, this is the story, The Veldt. You will click on the story. And then you will go through and you will read all of the questions or read all of the story. And as you read the story, you will answer the questions. And one of the things you'll see about Actively Learn is that, I'm going to try scrolling up this way because it doesn't want to scroll up that way, is that you have to answer the questions as you read. You can't just skip through because it won't give you the rest of the story until you've answered a question. So a question will pop up, you'll answer that question, and then it will give you the rest of the story until you get all the way to the end. And there are 7 things total that you are going to answer. So it starts off with a poll, usually. A poll is just kind of a thing that's an opinion thing. And then after you do the poll, then it will get into the story. And then as you read the story, you'll see the next question, and you'll answer that question. Then it'll give you the rest of the story. Then you'll see the next question, and it'll keep going all the way like that until you get to the end. And the last question is a written response question. And that's the one I want to address with you and make sure you understand what you're supposed to do for that one. Because the written response means you actually have to write sentences and you have to read and answer and pay attention to the directions. So this one asks you to rewrite the ending of the story or to add on to the ending of the story. So when you are done reading the story, okay, based on how the story ends, you have a couple options. You can either reimagine the ending of the story, so rewrite it differently, so retell the ending of the story how you would have written it, or you can rewrite it from the perspective of a different character, because this is told from the perspective of certain characters, so you could flip it and do it from, you know, the perspective of different characters, or you can add on to the ending. So you can imagine what you think would have happened after what we see that takes place. So however the story ends, if you want to add on to it and add more, you can do that. And then you'll notice it says you need to write a minimum of 5 sentences and number your sentences. So this is just like that discussion question that we talked about. You have the same requirement here. So whichever one of those options you choose, whether you're going to add on to the story or whether you're going to rewrite the ending of the story, either way, you're using your imagination to do so, right? So you're either reimagining how the story would have ended and ending it totally differently, or you're using your imagination to add on to the story from the ending that you see here and writing more of an ending. But you have to write at least 5 sentences and you have to number your sentences. Can you write more? Yes. Okay, you can absolutely write more, but you can't write less. Okay? If you write less, you're going to lose points. If you don't number your sentences, you're going to lose points. So you have to write at least 5 sentences and you have to number your sentences. So when I grade this question, that's what I'm looking for. 1, did you do one of those things? So did you either add on to the ending of the story or rewrite the ending of the story? 2, did you write at least 5 sentences? And 3, did you number your sentences? That's how I will be grading this question. Okay. And each one of these questions is 10 points apiece. So for each one of the questions you answer, you get 10 points for getting the correct answer. So this whole assignment ends up being worth 60 points because each one of those questions is worth 10 points. So this is a lot of points towards your grade just by simply reading the story and answering these questions. But I want to make sure that you understand how to do that. Multiple choice questions that come before this are either right or wrong answers. So you want to make sure you read carefully before you answer them, because you either get 10 points or 5 points on those. 10 points for a correct answer, 5 points for an incorrect answer. So you at least get some points even if you got it wrong, but you want to try to get the right answers and get those 10 points. So if you're not sure, you can always go back and look at the story and reread before you answer the questions. It's just like with an ed puzzle, you can go back and rewatch before you answer the questions. So read and answer the questions carefully, and then when you get to this one, make sure that you meet all of those requirements so you can get all 10 points for this question. Questions, anything I can clarify about this assignment, this story that you're going to be reading on Actively Learn? Okay, and again, as I told you, remember, this is a sci-fi story, okay? So keep that in mind as you read it. Science fiction, it has to do with technology gone wrong as well. So the idea of technology and abusing technology. So you're going to see some technology in this story, the benefits of it, and then you're going to see where it goes wrong and how that impacts what happens to the characters. So keep in mind, again, this is fictional. It's meant to be science fiction, so like futuristic kind of story. So, you know, and some weird messed up stuff happens in the story. So I'm just warning you guys in advance. Just kind of keep that in mind. That's my disclaimer before you read it, because that's how sci-fi goes often, is it deals with kind of weird, crazy stuff. So just letting you know, the people who read this, when we read this last quarter, if you are able to follow it and understand it and you figure out what happens, a lot of people liked it. They're like, wow, that was really messed up, but I like that story. So I'll be interested to see what you guys think of it when you read it. But any questions, anything that I can clarify just in general about either one of those homework assignments that you have for this next week?
Wait, so it's just those two?
Yes, just those two. So just your iReady and then reading the story and answering the questions on Actively Learn.
All right. Yeah, well, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. So that's what you guys have for this week. But remember, my advice to you during your asynchronous time today is make sure you revisit the assignments from last week and that you've met the requirements on those that we talked about before you start hitting these assignments for this week. So go back and make sure that you've signed up for Quizlet properly and joined properly and done those activities, which reminds me, Mark, I got yours now. I checked at break. They both are showing as done. Maya, your flashcards are showing as done, but not the learn for some reason. So if you don't mind hanging out at the end of the period, we can maybe look at that and I can see if I can help you with that.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I am showing the flashcards as done. But yeah, guys, make sure you have that done. Make sure you've double checked to make sure your discussion question is done properly and follows all the directions, that you have all your iReady done from last week. I would address those things first. If you need to get caught up on any of that, then come and work on the homework for this week. And remember that if you have questions or comments or need anything, one, you can always stay after class today and I can help you. Or two, you can always message me during the 3 to 4 o'clock hour because that's when my office hours are. Okay. Any other questions before we start talking about doing some ambition presentations? Alrighty. So then as far as ambition presentations, again, reminding you guys that I will be offering extra credit points for people who are willing to volunteer instead of me having to force you to go, but everybody will be going. So one way or another, whether you volunteer or not, you are going to be participating. So as I tell people, you might as well just volunteer and get extra credit since you know you're going to have to go anyway. But if you want to volunteer, you can just type that into the chat. Just say, hey, I'll go, or I would like to go, or something along those lines. And then that way, what I do is I start making a list of the people who are volunteering. So I know who those people are, and I can make sure that I give them points for volunteering. But basically, all you have to do is the same thing that I did, which is you'll screen share with us. And then you'll project your presentation and then you'll just go through and talk about it. You do not have to be on camera. You just have to, tell us about the stuff on your slides. So you have an advantage, a very distinct advantage, as we do presentations this way, in that normally when we do this assignment, we're actually physically in class together. So you have to stand up in front of the class. At least the advantage that you have, and here's another example of technology being an advantage, right? Is when we're doing it this way, you don't have to do that. You don't have to stand up in front of people. So it kind of lowers the effective filter in that sense, where it's a little less scary. I know it's still scary for some people to have to present. Trust me, I understand. I'm the same way. But it's easier than having to physically get up in front of people. So we kind of ease into the idea of presenting by doing it this way. But that being said, do I have any volunteers who want to get extra credit? Because this is the chance. Speak now or forever hold your peace, and then I'll just start randomly calling on people to go. But this is your chance to volunteer to go first or to go and get some extra credit points. So opportunities to get extra credits. All right, so I got Maya down there, so I'll put Maya down. All right. If there's anybody else, just feel free to type into the chat and I'll add you to the list. But we'll have Maya go ahead and start us off first. So Maya, do you know how to screen share, my dear? Okay, cool. All right, then I will let you go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing and I will let you take over the screen so you can share your presentation with us. And then if there's anybody else who wants to be added to that extra credit list, please feel free to let me know and I will add you to the extra credit list. I'm making those notes right now. Otherwise, if nobody else volunteers, then Maya will get to choose who goes next. She'll have all the power.
Wait, for what?
To present your ambition presentations. At some point in time, everybody will be presenting, and I'll let Maya know if nobody else volunteers for extra credit. When she's done, I'll let her know who she can choose from based on who has theirs completed right now, because I did already grade those, so I know who has them done. All right, here we go. And just remember, guys, to be very good listeners, be a polite audience as she is sharing her presentation. And I will go ahead and mute for now in the meantime so I'm not disrupting. And Maya, whenever you're ready, darling.
Okay, I guess I'll just start here. Chapter 1, Who Am I? I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. I was raised in California, and some of my hobbies that I like to do are dance and play my PS4. One fun fact about me is I was the only child for 11 years, and I am the oldest out of my cousins. Chapter 2, What is family to me? My mom is by my side no matter what and loves me. My dad helps me and gets me anything I want and also loves me. My grandma reminds me to stay on top of my work, stay on top of my world, and really put me in check. My sisters bring me joy and happiness. My aunt helps me with anything and helps me stay out of trouble. Chapter 2, School Bell. My favorite teacher is Miss Montez. My favorite subject is math. I'm in seventh grade, and I think I changed the most in 6th grade. In high school, I want to be a cheerleader. Chapter 4. My favorite movie is It. My favorite TV show is The Simpsons. My favorite sport is basketball. And my favorite game is Fortnite. My plans for high school. I want to go out for basketball and cheer. My goals for high school are to get a scholarship to a good college. How am I going to try to get a scholarship? How I am going to try to get a scholarship is by going out for cheer or basketball. Second chance. If you could change one thing, it would be my attitude. I would change my attitude because I have a bad attitude and I get in trouble over my attitude many times. That's it.
All right, awesome job. And we'll give her a round of applause. You can either unmute to do that or you can type it in the chat. Either way, but we want to make sure we show our support. So you can put like clap, clap, clap in the chat, or you can unmute, either one. But well done, and thank you for being willing to go first. I give double extra credit to my people who are willing to go first. So you get extra credit times 2. And just also, I love your there you go. There's all your claps. Thanks, guys. I love your choices of some of your GIFs. They're perfect. The way that they tied into some of the things you have on your slides there. And I was a cheerleader in high school too, so I think that's really cool. That's something that you want to do. And I also love basketball and The Simpsons, so we have a lot in common. So, but awesome, Maya. Thank you so much for being willing to go first, and you did a fantastic job. You did beautifully. All right. Anybody else who wants to be brave and volunteer to get some extra credit points? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, I will let Maya know who she can choose from. And just be clear, guys, once we move into people being chosen, then that means that extra credit is off the table. So it means nobody from this point on will be able to get extra credit anymore if you are not going to volunteer now. So this is your chance, your last opportunity to get extra credit if you want it. Otherwise, extra credit is off the table. Going once, extra credit going twice. That's fine, Elena. You can make edits to it, but you mean like you want to edit it before you share it? Is that what you mean? Because yours is beautiful. Yours is really well done. Did you want to edit it more before you share it? Is that what you're asking? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That is not a problem. You are welcome to do that. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Who wants an opportunity to go for extra credit? Otherwise, I'm going to tell Maya who are the people she can choose from. So extra credit going once, going twice. Last call. All right, so Maya, you can choose from any of the following people. I'll tell you their names, and then you can just tell me which name, and then I will have that person go next. So let's see. We've got Kayleen, Amy, Miley, Samantha, Mark, Maximus, and I think that's it for right now because Elena said she wants to make a change to hers. So which one of those people is going next?
I guess I'll just do Samantha.
All right, Samantha, you are up next. Do you know how to screen share, my dear? Okay, cool. All right, so then we'll let you go ahead and screen share. And guys, this is how easy it is to get your 15 points, is you just do exactly what you guys just saw Maya do. You put your screen up there, you talk through it, you're done, boom, 15 points towards your grade automatically. So it's super easy points. So Samantha is up next. And again, please just remember to be as good audience members for her as you were for Maya. And then when she's done, we will show our appreciation by either unmuting and applauding, or you can put your clap, clap, claps in the chat like you did before. And then I will go ahead and mute. And then whenever you are ready, Samantha, we are ready for you.
Okay, so I was born in Pomona Valley. I like running, swimming, and walking with my friends and family. And good thing I haven't broken any bones. So my mom works in a restaurant as a chef. My grandpa owns like a farm in Mexico. My older sister is a senior. She loves dogs, loves using her phone, and likes playing Among Us. My twin brother is in 7th grade and likes video games. My younger sister is in 5th grade and loves animals. Isabel is my friend. She's close to me. She's in 7th grade. She likes cats. She's funny. And she's fun to hang out. And knows like all my cousins. My favorite teacher is Miss Gomez and Miss Guerrero. Miss Gomez is my 6th grade teacher, and Miss Guerrero was my 7th. The grade I changed more was in 7th grade. My path for high school is getting good grades and taking things that are extra credit. My favorite book is A Born in Earth. I don't really have a scary movie. a favorite movie. My favorite show is Stranger Things. My favorite sport is basketball. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. I want to graduate, go to college, and pass college, get straight A's, or try my best. What I would like to change about myself is to stop being picky of the food that I eat and try new things that are good for me. And yeah.
Awesome. Well done, Samantha. Round of applause for her. Don't forget to show your appreciation in the chat there too. I think that's a really cool thing that you put there at the end. The idea of like, you know, wanting to try new things. I think that's something that other people can probably relate to too. My son's like that. He's starting to branch out in terms of like the foods that he likes, but he was very, you know, picky before. So I think that's a noble goal. I know you mentioned, I haven't heard anybody talk about that book in a while, Boy Named It. I've read that book. That's a really good book. I think that's cool that that was one of your favorite books on there as well. So awesome. Thank you, Samantha. Good job. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Samantha is going to get to choose who goes next. So let's see. Let me see who we've got on here. So you've got, let's see, Amy, Miley, Mark, Maximus. Those are your people you have to choose from that are already done with their presentations. So who would you like to choose to go next, Samantha? I know, you have all the power right now. Power is a difficult thing to have. It's a big responsibility. We lost Miley there. We lost Mark. We're trying to make your choice easier. Amy, Miley, if she comes back. Mark, if he comes back. Maximus. And that's it for right now because the other people are missing. So really right now, physically present, you've got, kind of narrowed it down, Amy, Mark, and Maximus. Oh, sorry, Amy, no, Mark's back. Amy, Mark, and Maximus are kind of your choices right now because I don't know if Miley came back yet. Amy? Okay. We'll have all the girls go first, right? Ladies first. All right. So Amy, do you know how to screen share, darling? Cool. All right. So then I will write you down as we get you to screen share here. And it looks like we got Mark back, so that's good. And guys, FYI, as we do these this week, we will also continue them next week. So if for some reason you are among those people who have not finished your presentation and you want to finish it for late work and late points, you'll have the opportunity to do that. But Amy will be our last one for today, and then we'll continue these next week. Remember, everybody will be participating at some point to get those points, because if you don't participate, that goes in as a 0 in the grade book, and you don't want that. Oh, my computer screen went to sleep over here. All right, Amy, I'm going to go ahead and mute, and whenever you're ready, darling, we are ready for you.
Actually, you pronounce my name as Ami.
Thank you so much for correcting me so that I can make sure that I don't say your name wrong anymore. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Ami, for letting me know, and I forgive me for having said it incorrectly this entire time. So thank you for speaking up and telling me.
It's
So
fine. I'm
Ami,
used to it.
I know people do it to me all the time too, but whether you're used to it or not, it doesn't mean it doesn't suck. So, you know, I apologize and I will do a better job now. So Ami, thank you for letting me know.
I was born in Upland and I grew up in Upland. My hobbies are dancing and drawing, and an interesting fact about me is that I wear glasses, as seen in the photo. Uh, about me. My mom and dad. Sorry. Uh, my mom and dad are very close to me, and I love them very much. And my friends that are like very close to me, like they're like family to me, are my friends Mila, Savannah, Victoria, and my friend Angel. Um, the photo right there is my friend Victoria. We were on a FaceTime together, and I got that photo of her. So yeah, and I have a lot of aunts and uncles that I very much love. I would put more details into my aunts and uncles, but I have too many to put, so I just said my aunts and uncles. My favorite teacher is my fifth grade teacher, Miss M. She was very nice and was very funny. The I noticed most change about me is in sixth through seventh grade. My plans in high school is study hard and just try my best to get the best grade I can. My favorite book is Case Closed. It's a manga series, and my favorite movie is the Ratatouille movie, and my favorite TV show is Rilakuma and Karu. I don't think I said that right, but it's the best I could do. And my favorite sport to watch is football, because that's the sport I know most about. My ambition slash plans after high school. I want to go to college. My goals are to graduate, and I'm going to study very hard to get in. I don't know what I want to do in the future, so yeah, but I would like to go to Harvard. That's why I put a picture of Harvard. If I had a second chance, I would want to spend more time with my grandma. I didn't spend so much time with her before she died. So, yeah, I would like to spend more time with her.
Awesome. Round of applause for Ami. Beautifully done. And what a beautiful picture of you. I'm assuming is that you with your grandma when you were little?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cute picture. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that can relate to that too, like that if they had the opportunity to, you know, go back and spend more time with somebody that they would. I know I can definitely relate to that. That's for sure. And I also wear glasses. I don't have them on today, but my eyesight is terrible. So I'm wearing my contacts today. I should be wearing my blue light glasses to be honest, but I forgot them. So, but yeah, that's something that I can relate to as well. And I saw that you read manga. My son is a big manga fan, so I'll have to ask him if he's read that one before. Me too, Zeke. Me too. All right, guys, we are nearing the time to say goodbye. So remember, we meet again on Friday. So I will see you all on Friday. We will continue this more later. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the end of the week. Take care, everybody. Bye, Samantha. Bye, Elena. Bye, Tase. Bye, Zeke.
Bye.